Hey guys, so this is my response to Module 2. I thought it would be easier to do a video than to do written up just for time's sake. So, I guess the first thing we're talking about is time, and when I looked at both explanations of time, I think I tend to be more polychronic in orientation because I can set schedules, but I don't always follow them, so I schedule to a point, I guess in my profession you have to schedule, but I do change it quite on the moment because I find it's easier to be more fluid and I'm more flexible, I think, in terms of that, so my time tends to flow and change depending on what the need is for that time. I use both. In terms of communication, I use both direct and indirect communication. It depends on who I'm talking to. So if I know that the person needs me to be more direct in what I'm saying, which tends to be in situations where, for example, I'm addressing something more important, I find I have to be more direct. In terms of my relaxed conversation and everyday conversation, it tends to be more indirect. So depending on knowing the person, that's how I tend to approach it, and I try to gauge the person, if I don't know them, by reading them as best as I can in that moment. So depending on what needs to be done. So for example, if the situation warrants direct communication, say for I'm delegating a task or something that requires more direct communication. If I'm just communicating in meaningful dialogue, it tends to be more indirect communication. It really depends on the situation, who I'm talking to, and what the conversation about, and if it's professional language or if it's relaxed everyday conversation. In terms of emotions, I'm very emotionally expressive. But only when the time is appropriate, I hope. There are times when I'm emotionally restrained, but that's usually when I first come into a room and I want to watch and gauge what's going on, and then I just kind of hop in, and then I'm very emotionally expressive. So again, it depends on the situation. A lot of the times, if it's in terms of working with kids, I'm very emotionally expressive because that's what I'm comfortable with. In terms of adults, I try to tone it back a bit because not everyone is usually as excited or overly enthusiastic as I am. So that's me, and I think when going to Guatemala is that we're going to be using all of these tools, and it's great to learn about this, and it's a very important thing to think about. However, we have to remember that we're going to be making a lot of these decisions in the spur of the moment. We're going to be making very much on-spot decisions. For example, we might be doing a song with kids, and it might not be working, and we might just need to switch it up a bit or add something to help it become more engaging. And I think that's a useful skill to have. And I think with anything, when we go on this trip, we are guests, and it's great to engage and participate, but it helps to be mindful of what others are feeling, and I guess that would be hard to do with, because we don't speak the language. However, you can read body language, often is quite universal sometimes, not completely, but a lot of the time you can tell if someone's really restrained when they put their arms up, or you tell they're engaged when they're laughing and they're smiling. I mean, that's what I've experienced. I could be totally off in left field here, but that's basically my thoughts on it. And I think my best advice for myself and for other people, if you need it, would be to just take it each experience and each interaction at a time, and just be very mindful of who you're talking to and what you're saying.